Okay. All right. This video might help somebody. I'm right in the middle of a cold, so I don't know if I sound like living in a shoe or something. This is if you have a cat with a flesh wound, good sized flesh wound. I'll tell you the story. I have a cat. His name is Giancarlo. We call him Gianni, and he gets in fights. Things happen. He's my oldest cat. I've had him longer than anybody. Great cat. A couple days, well, actually 2 weeks ago, I look at him. He's all kind of wet. Something's going on in his chest. And I pick him up and look at him, and he had licked his chest, all the hair away. He had a hole in his chest the size of a quarter. You can see all the way into his chest cavity. You can stick your finger in there if you wanted to. It's huge. And I kind of freaked and said, "Oh gosh, it was like it was on a Friday." And it's bad. It didn't seem to be in pain. He was eating food, but he just walking around with this big flesh wound. Now, at the time, it was late. There's no chance of me getting him. I take that back. I tried getting him into a crate so I could take him to the vet. He figured it out. I couldn't get him into the crate. I couldn't catch him. So I said, well, what I did is later in the evening, I actually trapped him in one of my dog crates with some food, and I kept him in there for a while. But here's what I did. It may be a timing issue. Maybe you don't have the money. Something like this probably would have cost around $350 at my local vet because they'd have to, anesthesia. They have to put him, so they can work on him. Cats won't let you do that. And this kind of thing. So I don't want to spend the money on it, but I love my cat. But if you're in a pinch like this, I did something that worked. This cat had very long hair, so I was able to clip some of it back. Now the advantage we had here, and this was huge, he was able to put his head down and lick his chest, keeping the wound clean. That is huge. Okay? If the cat does that, you're way ahead of the game. All right? If it had been summertime, we would have had to worry about blowflies and maggots. Very disgusting. I've lost animals this way before. That's a real problem. Let's say if it was summertime and I couldn't get to the vet or whatever the situation was, I'd have to lock him up in the house, maybe in the bathroom or something, or I'd control the environment somewhat, keep the flies to a minimum. I would then take and clip his hair back as much as I could, and I would use, I got some right here. I would use some of this, Vicks Vapor Rub. Okay, now what does the Vicks Vapor Rub do? I would place this not necessarily in the wound, but around it. If he licks it, it won't make him sick. But flies hate Vicks Vapor Rub. I learned this for shearing sheep. You shear sheep, they get out of line, they jump around, you scratch one or cut them with your shears, and they get fly attacks big time. Something about their blood. And so every time you cut, scrape, or puncture a sheep skin, if there's blood, you cover it with this stuff, you're good. You got to keep an eye on it first. You do it every couple of days, or every day for a couple of days, and it keeps the blowflies away. Because you do not want to get, they call it a fly strike. If you get a fly strike and the maggots happen, they get in and you can't, it's over. You could do the if you get it quick enough, you could take it and have surgery done, but it's brutal. It's pretty much over. So you don't want that. Luckily, we're in the wintertime. And also, like I said, he was able to lick his wound clean. If the blowflies were going to do something, he could keep up with it. He could compete. Now, if this wound was on his back, behind his head, because cats can, they get all the way to the top of their spine up to a certain point. They can't get right behind him. So if he had a wound back there that he cannot clean, you have to keep it clean. Lock him up in the house. You got to worry about the flies and all this kind of thing. That's the fly issue. But if he can lick it, they can pretty much, most of the time, win. Depends on how bad the flies are. Okay, enough of the maggots. Anyhow, you got a cat, he's got a flesh wound. You've already recognized you're not going to have a fly problem. In my case, he was able to lick it clean. But I don't have access to the vet at this time. Okay, I don't have this option. Maybe it's a Saturday night or something like that. What I had available was two things. One, fish mox. This is amoxicillin. Now, I've used this myself for a toothache. I've seen my vet give my animals, my pets, amoxicillin for one thing or another, so I knew this wouldn't hurt them. Okay. Now, cats are very small. I'm a lot bigger. what I did is I took one of these, I put him in a crate, kept him outside, put him in a crate, and I'd feed him small amounts of wet food, his favorite wet food, and I would take one of these, crack it open, and pour a little bit on their food. I could get 4 feedings out of this pill here, okay? And I'm just guessing. I just, a little bit on, a little bit on, a little bit on, 3 times a day. You can still get this in California at feed stores, if not your aquarium places or whatever. $20. It's not cheap necessarily, but it's a lifesaver. Okay, it did not hurt him. He never lost his appetite. I would feed him this until the hole or the wound is closed. Okay, however long that may take. And you're going to have to decide. If you got some massive gaping thing and your entrails are hanging out, well, you're done. But like I said, this thing was the size of a quarter. And it looked like a gaping hole to me, but it closed up in about 14 days. It finally completed. Okay, another thing I did is I went to my feed store. Antibiotics are off the shelf. They took January 1st, they took all the antibiotics off the shelf, except for this stuff, for cattle and all this kind of thing. So now we have to go to a vet for a simple thing like antibiotics. Way more expensive now. And that's California. I went and bought Vetericyn Plus. This one here is for wound and skin care. There's 5 or 6 different models. There's a gel type. There's one for, you can spray this in their eyes. This is great for pink eye for cattle. Okay, this kind of thing. This is an antimicrobial. Now, I tried this once before, but I didn't stick with it. I didn't have the patience. So I bought this is another. It's $20. Okay, not cheap. $18.99, $95, whatever. And what I did is I sprayed my cat. He didn't like it. It didn't cause him pain, but he didn't like being sprayed. So I kept him in the crate. I'd grab him, spray his chest, 2 squirts, 3 to 4 times a day. Okay. Every time I fed him, I sprayed him, and then if there was another, he'd get him in the morning, get him at lunchtime, get him before work, get him when I got home. Okay. And, I mean, I was the first 4 or 5 days, I'm like, man, I don't know if this is going to, because I was really worried about the fly thing, but luckily it was wintertime. But I thought this is going to be, I don't know if we're going to be able to pull this off without the vet. And like I said, he never lost his appetite. He didn't seem to be in any pain, and he kept it fairly clean, even though I sprayed this stuff on there. Now, initially when I sprayed this, I held his head for a while so he wouldn't lick it. I'd give this antimicrobial some chance to fight and do whatever it was doing. It's been 12 days, 13 days maybe, and 2 days ago the hole closed up. He's totally intact now. He's got a bald spot on his chest, and he's good. And I really thought this was going to be. I thought I'm going to lose him, even for without going to the dentist. I mean the vet. You can give this to your cat. Doesn't kill him. Doesn't make him sick. But you have to figure out how much to give him. Like I said, I got out of each tablet, I got 4 meals, and I fed him 3 times a day, small meals, to keep a good flow of this antibiotic in his system until the wound closed. Then Vetericyn. Kept this on 3 to 4 times a day, antimicrobial. I kept him in the first week. I didn't let him out of the crate. It's a large dog crate. He had a litter box in there and everything. And I would only put I didn't want him to get the litter stuff into his chest, so I only put that in there for like certain parts of the time and then took it out. Had a little system going to keep him clean, even though he was still able to lick and keep it clean. There are certain things you can put on an animal that they'll have at a feed store that are anti-blowfly, but they will keep the maggots from happening. But it would make a cat sick. If he can lick it, this stuff is pretty powerful, and it doesn't work out too well. You'd have to put a collar thing on him or something like that. There was a product out there. I can't remember the name of it. Biggest fear in this thing is infection. And around here, flies, blowflies. I've lost animals this year, not knowing what I was doing at the time. Maybe there's a situation where an animal got cut or whatever, and next thing you know, flies, this and that, and you got a problem. And most of the time, like with sheep, it kills them. There's no, it's too big an expense to have a vet do. It's more the value than the animal. That's just livestock. You don't do that. So anyhow, fish mox, which is amoxicillin. Maybe your dentist gave you some amoxicillin for a tooth pain. Use it for your cat. Vetericyn, antimicrobials, Vetericyn Plus. I did not use the gel because I didn't want anything that would stick. If you got out in some junk, it would make it stick to them. This is just like water. Okay? And like I said, if there's a fly issue, if you have to worry about the flies, lock them up in the house, put them in a closet, put them in your bathroom or something where you could control the environment. You know, put something down at the base of the door. If you keep the flies away, if it was summertime, you can get through this pretty good. Especially if you have to do something if they cannot lick the wound clean. If they cannot maintain it, keep it clean from the blowflies, you have to do something. You might bandage it at that point or whatever the case is. Anyhow, you can get this stuff at most feed stores, and it fixes the cat. Hole as big as a quarter. I tell you, you look inside, you can see the hole inside him. You stick your finger in there, and you're throwing a quarter in it. Huge. Freaked me out. Anyhow, love you. God bless.